Hi, this is How to Get Your Shit Together with me, Sue Wright. So today is all about grief. Now, before you go turning off and thinking it's all doom and gloom, it's not really. It is, it's something that kind of snuck up on me last week. And it was actually a very profound conversation with my eldest sister, who is not a coach of any description, but she really kind of made me see the wood for the trees. So hopefully I can do the same with you. So last week and the week before, really, I was really very tearful and, missing desperately my horses. And I just really couldn't get my head around it. It was getting worse. It was progressing. It was, got to the point where last Saturday night, I sat on the doorstep of my motorhome and pretty much sobbed for hours. I think I went to bed about 3 a.m. and it was just full proper grief, real loss. That's all I can describe it, just a complete loss. And the profoundness of my elder sister did point out that in actual fact it probably wasn't just the horses. It was my brain kind of pointing me in the most logical direction, which was, you've lost your horses, they were your life, blah blah blah. So my kind of logical brain was pointing me in that way, but the reality probably is and was that I wasn't just grieving the loss of my horses. It was just that I have hit a point in life, and you might as well, where all of the shit that you run away from, or you bury, or you don't address, has just kind of come bowling forward. If you like, my guard had dropped. And I'm not saying that having your guard up is a good thing. I'm just saying that is what we do, and that's what I did. That, my guard had dropped. I was no longer the strong warrior woman who can deal with anything. And all of the stuff that had happened over the last year, the last 2 years, the last 5 years, the last 10 years, going back through, like the loss of use of my arm, the implications of that for work, the breakdown of my marriage, all the stuff, the loss of dogs over the last few years, the loss of my other horse a few years earlier, miscarriages that I'd had, just all of this grief just kind of snowballed and just burst forward. So, what do you do when that happens? When you're feeling overwhelmed, when you've got all of this stuff just oozing out of your eyeballs, for want of a better word, but you're just feeling leaden with grief. So I thought, right, okay, where's the best place for me to try and get my head around this? What do I need to look at? And, I'm not shy in saying, I use other people's work and refer back to them, because, that's how we all learn. You listen to me, you get something from it, you might go off on a tangent and look at something else. So one of the books that I bought yonks ago for work research is a book called The Language of Emotions, and that is by Karla McLaren. I'll try and remember and put a link in the description. And, the biggest thing for me is that what resonated with me with that book is that, she says that, emotions are neither good nor bad, happy nor sad. The emotions are just emotions. They are just things, and each emotion has something to teach us and something to push us into, if you like. So this overwhelming feeling of grief, grief is a very powerful, strong emotion. And what she says in the book, I won't go into too much detail, but what she says in the book is that, you've got to, allow that grief to happen. As the Western world is not very good at dealing with grief or dealing with grieving people. And that British stiff upper lip malarkey where, you have a few tears and then you're supposed to get on with life. So I hadn't dealt with all of this grief, all this kind of ending of lots of things. I hadn't dealt with it properly. So the first step was, like I say, just acknowledging, and almost, I mentally kind of went through a list of all of the things that I hadn't got over, that I hadn't addressed, that I had just shoved down. So I went over all of that. So like I say, it could be the end of a career. It could be the end of living in a particular house. It could be the end of a relationship, and even though all of those things were cathartic in the fact that, it was letting go because I knew it was what was needed, and I knew this new life, whatever form it's taking, was was what was necessary. They were all my choices, apart from obviously losing the animals, but they were all my choices. It doesn't make it any less of a thing to grieve for, if that makes sense. We still need to give it the attention and the respect that the situation it dictates. So the walking away from a house that you've lived in for gazillion years because in your heart it's not the right place for you to be anymore. The letting go of work that you've possibly you've climbed your way to the top of the ladder, or you've built a business up from scratch, as I did, and then having to let it go. It has an impact. It is something that it's a loss. Even though it's the right thing to do, it's still a loss. So I went through and made a mental list of all this stuff, of what I hadn't kind of allowed to be addressed properly. And what Karla says in her book is to make a kind of shrine to this. So that is what my job is today, is to create a little shrine, if you like, of the losses. Now for me it's going to be very easy, because my vision boards that I created to share on courses and also just for myself have everything that I need to grieve for on there pretty much. Because as I've said before, my whole reason for being, my whole reason for doing was so tied up in the horses and the animals and the dogs. It was to buy a farm, to live somewhere, to do this kind of work in person where you come along and we write your contracts and we burn them and blah, blah, blah. But it was all tied up in that. And I really have lost my why. The why, the reason I want to do all these things. It's gone, it's vanished, and it's a real struggle to try and find a why again. So my shrine is going to be on the dashboard of the motorhome, because it's like right up the front. It's an area I don't use when I'm sitting in one place for any length of time. And the thing that you've got to grieve, you've got to let go the way you want to. So for me, I'm going to put the vision board there. I'm going to put some other stuff there. And just spend time in that area, dedicate time to letting go, to saying goodbye, to acknowledging the grief, the loss, whether that is just sitting and contemplating whether more tears will come, or quite frankly, I cried so much last weekend, I don't think there's any left. And then complete the grieving process when I'm ready. Complete the grieving process when you are ready. And by that, you take the shrine down, you acknowledge, you put your photos back where you want to put them, you burn things, you bury them, you fold them up neatly and put them away. But it is a sort of final, I've done it, So for me, that is what I need to do. I think I've pretty much done it now. I work things out in my head. I'm a very, that's how I do things. Sometimes I put it on paper, but, I can process a lot of this stuff in my head. So, don't give yourself a hard time for feeling so desperately sad and lost when you're doing things that are right for you. It's a case of acknowledge the things you need to let go of and grieve for them. Give them the honour, the time, the energy, the love, the tears that you need to. Just because it's your choice to leave them or let them go doesn't mean it's any less painful or, a huge thing in your life. So we need to kind of, like I say, yes, let go of things, move forward, move sideways, wherever you need to go. When you're letting go of stuff, acknowledge that they were a big part of your life. Don't just kind of be blasé about it, because otherwise it will come and bite you on the ass further down the line, I can assure you. So like I say, make your shrine, spend the time there, make sure it's somewhere private, somewhere you can go, somewhere away from the rest of your day-to-day house, so that you make it special. Grieve as long as you feel you need to, then put the stuff away, burn, bury bits of it, whatever you feel you need to for you. I can't say what you need to do. And then, that's the grieving process kind of done. You may still feel sadness, you may still feel leadenness, but, let your body and your mind and your soul and whatever else go through the process. Don't just, I'm going to say bury it, but don't just kind of keep it pushed down, and especially, like I say, when things have been your decision and, people think you're crazy for doing whatever you're doing. If you've gone from your gut feeling, it's right, then that's fine, but you're still allowed to grieve for it. Yeah? Okay, you're still allowed. It's normal, it's right, it's all good. So I hope that helps. Like I say, The Language of Emotions, Karla McLaren, is a really good book to kind of get your head around stuff. There's some lovely stuff in there about burning contracts, which I do a lot with clients. I was doing it anyway of a form, but like I say, Karla's work is really lovely. So there you go. Before I finish, I would just like to say a huge thank you to all of you lovely people that keep contributing to my funds for continuing these podcasts with my PayPal me link. It is so appreciated, it really is. So I'll put the link again in the description for this podcast. But again, thank you so very, very much. My email address, I'm going to put that in the link as well, so that if you need me for coaching, I don't care where you are in the world, if you need me to help you through stuff, then just get in touch, okay? Doesn't matter what day of the week it is, just get in touch. I'm a very easy, oozy kind of gal. I can talk to you in the morning through the week. I can talk to you at the night through the week. I can talk to you over the weekend. So, there's no time constraints with regards to where you're geographically based. So put all my contact details in, but just a real big thank you to those of you who've been PayPaling me. It is really appreciated because it helps me to keep going and keep carrying on creating these little snippets of nonsense for you. But thank you so much. You guys take care. I'll speak to you soon.